everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at the brand new Winterblade M-Fire. In my opinion, this is the best EDC size that has come from Winterblade Co. The Winterblade Factor 8, the Winterblade Veyron that we've already reviewed, and the Winterblade M-Fire all dropping on 10/23/24 at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, as well as some of the Factor B3s. I'm pretty sure it's their largest drop yet, and these are on the pre-order. They're going to be on the site, first come, first serve. It's going to be crazy because these are all outstanding knives, and probably the most excited I've been all year about a knife. So like I said earlier, I think the M-Fire is a fantastic EDC size. At least for me it is. Coming in at around 7.11 inches long. It has a 3.77 inch blade with a 2.68 inch cutting edge. It has a nice gloss DLC finish on the blade, and you can see how nice that blade looks. I've already done the testing to this, and you can see there's not a scar on it. Now, the gloss DLC can be a fingerprint magnet, or it is a fingerprint magnet. It can be hard to kind of wipe down and get smudgy, but it holds up to wear and tear very, very well. Not to mention, this knife is in Vanex Super Clean, which is a nitrogen-based steel, and it has outstanding corrosion resistance. Paired with this DLC finish, you'll never have to worry about this blade corroding on you, as well as fantastic edge retention, and it's got decent toughness as well. One of my favorite blade steels, especially here living in the South with high humidity. I never worry about any of my Vanex blades rusting at all. No jimping up top, but I found it fairly comfortable because it's nice and flat up there to rest your thumb. You also have a nice bevel going on the top right there, so you don't have any sharp areas up there on the spine. And look at the thinness of that tip. So you're going to be able to do some very fine precision work there, drag cuts if you need to trace something out. Very nice and thin. Besides being able to do detail work with that tip, this is a very versatile blade because you have a very slight bit of belly, and that edge sits below the handle scales. So on a flat cutting surface in the pinch grip like this, I can get all the way to the back of this edge. In hand cuts are going to be very nice as well because the belly doesn't swoop too crazy toward that tip, so you shouldn't slide out. Only thing you would have to worry about is making sure you don't get hung up in this area right here, but I did not find that happening. Whenever I start doing testing, I get right up to that edge so I can control it a lot better. Let's take a look at the sharpening choil. You should have some sharpening light, but you can see right here is where that's going to start thickening up. So I'd say, you know, as small as that bevel is, if you keep it that size, you should have, I'd say, 3 sharpenings maybe. And this should be a fairly easy fix if you needed to. You could always shave off a little bit of that area. And just a little bit of that touching, you can see what I'm talking about, the fingerprint magnet. You know, I don't really care about that all that much, but if you are someone who's OCD about, you know, fingerprints being on your blade, then this isn't the best finish for you. So this should be a very slicey blade because you have a nice full flat grind. Comes down nice and thin to around 14 thousandths behind the edge at the thinnest portion. So as long as this knife's sharp, it should do great. Let's find out. This knife came with a fantastic edge out of box, and it has phenomenal geometry. This thing is gliding through the cardboard effortlessly. Only thing you do have to watch out, you don't want to get hung up where the sharpening choil area is, but I found myself fine because I kind of choke up right toward that edge, just so I didn't really have to worry about it. Just switching it up a little bit. I like to try to cut the cardboard every which way just to show that it's a good performer, or not. But yeah, this one never slowed down in the least. And we even threw a little bit different type of cutting after this just to show the detail you can do with the tip. But yeah, very, very good slicer. Can't wait. I'm going to sharpen it up after this. It's probably going to be even better. So I'm just showing you can do those tracing cuts, you know, make it fine, detailed things. And I can really control that tip very well, especially since you don't have a whole bunch of belly and it's nice and thin up there. So this one's definitely a recipe for being a great slicer, good geometry, great blade steel, good edge retention steel. I don't know exactly what the bevel is, but whenever I got to this portion, look how it's like I was peeling a banana with this thing. It is going into the wood. When I say like it's a hot knife through butter, it was actually pretty crazy. And it was comfortable all the way till I got to the very, very end. My pinky was having a little bit of a hot spot toward the back end, but you know, I don't really foresee that being an issue for anybody else. Now, I did decide to raise this one up on the block only because it makes it easier for me. I could have definitely done this on a flat cutting surface. It just makes it a little bit more difficult, and I already have a pretty severe blister, permanent blister on my index finger, so you know. But you can see how sharp it is. I'm doing that pointer finger grip for a lot of the cutting. I swap, you know, just to see different hand feels, but yeah, it's incredibly sharp, and it's going through this 1/2-inch sisal rope, you know, no problem whatsoever. The knife has a really good bit of bite, and that's evident after the first time you cut something like this with a lot of you know, if it doesn't take a lot of pressure, that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, this one is doing great. So far, so good. I've been really enjoying this one, you know, not just carrying it, but using it. And after I did all this testing, I inspected the blade pretty well. That DLC finish held up phenomenal. I didn't expect it to hurt it any. Now, sometimes you might get some like burnishing to the finish, but that wasn't the case here. I've had it happen on a couple of Best Techs. They use the matte finish, and I'm not certain theirs is actual DLC. They do have DLC, but I don't know. It just seems to burnish a lot easier than, say, this one or my Kaiser Drop Bear with that matte DLC that they use. But yeah, very nice job. And I could have definitely did more. I think I did 180 cuts with the piece I cut. Excellent. Once again, I could have just finished off that piece of leather, but I don't know if you have checked the leather prices. It's not the cheapest material, and I try to get at least 1/8-inch thick leather. But yeah, look how it's gliding through all the dense materials. Absolutely no issues, especially with that full flat grind. And the 10-ounce denim, it made it feel like it wasn't even there. I was literally barely pushing. You see me using that index finger. So fantastic job. This one did the best so far out of the three. Haven't completed the Factor 8 yet, though. Now let's go into the deployment, which in my opinion is what's special about this knife. So this is actually a dual action magnet driven blade deployment. So that's what he's calling his M-Fire system. Inside here, there's two powerful neodymium magnets that act as an assist. So when you're opening, you just barely push that blade hole and it comes firing out. But one cool thing about this is it's not hard to overcome that magnet. As well as on the deployment, you can easily slow roll it, no problem. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I can't do this with any of my assisted knives, but I can close it, no problem. The reverse flick is fantastic, and this thing comes out so hard because of the detent being caused by the two magnets that are causing the assist once it breaks it. You can also, as you see here, you can pull this back right here and you'll have pretty much a side opening automatic. Now, it's not super strong, and you do have to make sure you let go of the button or it'll kind of kick back on you. At least mine does. Like, see if I do that, then it's not going to lock up because this is also acting as your lock. Another cool thing about this system is if you live in an area where automatics are illegal but assisted knives aren't, then this knife would be okay because this falls under an assisted opening knife. If you're someone who says, man, I would love to get that knife, but I don't like the magnet system in there. I don't want it to be shooting out like that, or I'm worried because I work somewhere where a lot of metal filings and shavings could get inside the magnets. Well, don't worry. You can take out both of those magnets and the knife still works as a manual knife just fine. It's going to lock up and you can deploy it manually as well. So got you covered on both ends. But this action is definitely addictive. I mean, just watch this, watch. This reverse flick, I mean, comes out so fast. And then, whoop, if you want to do that as well. Just very cool, unique, different. So your pivot and all your body screws are all Torx T8, even your clip screws. Absolutely love seeing that. And then this show scale has some nice milling that offers a perfect amount of grip. You have the M-Fire in here. You have these large chamfers, and if you look closely, you even have a small bevel knocking off that corner, so you don't have any sharp areas. So you shouldn't have any sharp areas where they shouldn't be. And if you see how deep these chamfers are, it gives it the feeling of contouring on those scales, and more large chamfers going all the way around. I think this is a PVD coating on here. It feels nice, whatever it is. And I have clanked this up against other things, and so far so good. I haven't had any scratching or chipping of it. Very well done. If you flip it over on this side, you have the carbon fiber scale. So kind of like the original factors where you had the titanium and carbon fiber. So you have a standard weave, carbon fiber. I'm guessing that's like a twill. It looks very, very nice. There's absolutely no voids that I see anywhere. Yeah, it looks very nice. And this right here, I'm guessing it houses a magnet. I'm not 100% on that. Either that or a spot, a metal spot for the magnet. Let's see something. Yeah, for this magnet to have its opposite attract. I'm not sure. I haven't taken this one apart just because being that there's magnets in there, I didn't know how easy it was to take apart. I didn't want anything to go flying anywhere. And it's been flawless since I've gotten it, and I've carried this a good bit. You know, I was worried that this right here would be a hot spot whenever I was doing all that testing, but there was not one time that I felt this at all. It's got a chamfer around it, very small chamfer. And if you look at it, it goes down into the scale right there. So it's only sticking up here. And like I said, I didn't feel it. If you look at it from that viewpoint, you can see that's about all sticking up from the scale. A little bit of peel ply. I'm guessing that's G10. That may just be the second magnet. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm sure somebody's going to take it apart. I took apart the Veyron. That one I felt comfortable doing. Now, as far as the ergos, whenever I was doing the testing, for the majority of the testing, it was perfectly comfortable. Now, whenever I do the hard pushing cuts, you know, that'll really tell you if a knife has great ergos or just okay or terrible. This one, I would say, has a little bit better than just good. Like I said, whenever I did everything else, it was perfectly fine. The majority of your EDC tasks are going to be just fine. Whenever I was really bearing down, my medium-sized hands, if I'm choked up right here, this pinky is sitting on this spot right here, and this is usually always the case. Even though they had that chamfer right there, you know, just pushing down on it can be uncomfortable. Now, it's probably not uncomfortable for the average person, but I mean, if you see my hands, they're not like the average person. So I think for anybody else, it'd be comfortable. This, in my opinion, was the most comfortable of the Winterblades that I've tested. Now, the Veyron is a real close second to that one. If you look right here, you have two back spacers. The new locking system uses a compression spring, and it is housed underneath. It says the bottom backspacer. I was thinking it was this one. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. All I'm trying to say is that the reason it's housed underneath the bottom of the backspacer is so that it's hidden from dirt and grime. So it's not going to mess up your action. It's not going to mess up your lockup. So that's more the reason why I think it might be here, but you know, I could be wrong there. But when it comes to the mechanics of a knife, Brian Winters thinks of everything. Very good attention to detail on the mechanics of the knife, the lock of the knife. He tests them. He does lots of prototyping. There's a lot of research and development that goes into each one of these knives that we never see. So we have a tip-up mill titanium pocket clip. The ramp underneath here is perfect for the seam of my jeans. I don't know if you have super thick jeans. It may be a little bit difficult to get underneath there. I can't say that because I don't have any super thick jeans. The spring on it is perfect in my opinion, especially being that it's sitting on top of smooth carbon fiber. You don't want that to go sliding around in the pocket, and you don't want it to come out of the pocket without you wanting it to. This is a reversible clip. You can see right here, it can be swapped over. So it's not technically a deep carry, but it's more deep carry than a lot of my deep carry knives. You can see that all you have is the screws right here sticking out, and it hugs the side of the pocket very well. At least for me it does. And then I got something to grab a hold to when I'm pulling it out. Now, as far as lefties go, it will be sitting on top of this texture, but this texture, being that it's coated, I don't find it to be too rough. I'm sure eventually it probably would start to shred up your pockets, but I can't say that for sure. So the lockup on this knife, nope. When I say I cannot muscle any side to side or up and down, very, very tight lockup. Now, I'm going to do some light spine whacking, and I don't think he claimed that this is a Veyron strong locking system. So just want to make sure no vibrations will make that disengage. Nice and tight. No movement up or down, left or right. And yeah, still easily disengage it. This one's coming in at 115 grams or 4.056 ounces. I find the weight to be perfect. Wasn't cumbersome in the least. Now for some quick size comparisons, we have two Winterblades, the Severn, which is a good bit bigger, and the original Factor, which is just a hair shorter than the M-Fire. As you can see, it's a good bit smaller than the Ontario Rat 1, but it's almost identical in length to the Rat 2. Next, it's a good bit smaller than Spyderco PM2, and it's just a hair shorter than the Power 3. And lastly, it's about identical in length to the QSP Penguin, and it's a little bit longer than the Civivi Elementum. And for my nitpicks and complaints, I can give, I guess, a nitpick because this thing's pretty flawless in my opinion. Maybe extend the sharpening tool a little bit, but like I said earlier, you should have a good bit of sharpening life. You can see, really and truthfully, you're probably going to get to about right here. So I think you'll have quite a few sharpenings as long as you're not reprofiling it by a ton before it'll widen at the heel. So who is this knife for? If you're someone looking for a very unique, high quality, aesthetically pleasing, at least in my opinion, knife that not only performs well, is going to be highly versatile, should be able to handle pretty much any type of cutting you put in front of it, at least as far as EDC tasks go, then the Winterblade M-Fire is a fantastic option. The combination of its materials, all that goes into the design, the dual action makes this a unique standout piece for anybody's collection. Definitely one that you'd pull out when your knife bros come over. I promise you they will be impressed. That's going to be all for today's review. Stay tuned for the Winterblade Co. Factor 8 review. Will be coming very, very soon. If you enjoyed this video, please slap a like on it so I know you're enjoying the content and I can continue to bring you more like this. And if you're not already and you enjoy knife and gear content, then think about hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to have you. Let me know your thoughts on the new Winterblade M-Fire. Are you planning on picking one up, or are you interested in one of the other Winterblade models? Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, keep those blades sharp, listen to my dog bark, and smile more. Bye!